Hi, I'm Freya. Welcome back to my AuthorTube channel where I talk all things writing, reading, book publishing. I'm really happy to have you here, and this video is kind of just a sit down, chatty recap of the month of February. This is very much inspired by the lovely Lindsay Puckett, who I watch and love her videos. I haven't read any of her books, but I love her content. So I thought this would be a good kind of thing to do because I guess like the last two videos I've made have been more just talking to the camera, and I found that I really enjoyed making them and I had a lot to say. So I'm hoping that I can kind of capture that in this video as well, and I hope that you get something out of it, or even if you're clicking off this second, thank you for being here and taking an interest. So February. At the start of this month, I was waiting for my final edits of The Go-Between Girl. I had some problematic ending chapters that needed to be kind of looked at again by my critique partner and kind of reanalyzed to see, ooh, that is a lighting scare, to see if I'd fixed the problems with them and see if they were more up to snuff and more consistent with the rest of the novel. And I got those edits back, I think around the 10th or so of the month, and they were very quick. Essentially the gap he noticed in quality, he wasn't so apparent to him on that read through, and he didn't have many, like, I think like when I applied all of the edits, the total word count changed by like 10 words. And so there were very small, very minor tweaks. And so that meant I had a draft ready to either go out into the world or to query. And I promised him that, because, you know, he's been listening to me, you know, be frustrated with how hard the process of marketing my first novel has been. And so he's like, I really think you should do something with this novel other than self-publish it. I think you should try and get it traditionally published. I think it has the legs. I think it can stand on its own enough to go down that route. And so essentially what I did was start preparing query materials, query packages, letters, synopsis, getting sections of the novel ready to send to agents. And I have so far queried 35 agents this month, and of those 35, 4 have come back and said it's a no for them. I've got the very standard form, that's going to keep happening, I'm sorry, form rejection letters that you would expect to get from, you know, some people, because it's not a fit for them. So yeah, that's where I'm at with the querying. Have I found the did I find the querying materials hard to put together? I was a little intimidated, I'm not gonna lie, because like writing a blurb for a novel that's captivating and writing a synopsis that sounds convincing, I think is a difficult skill. I think it's part of what makes marketing your book, if you're doing it yourself, so hard, and like the process of getting an agent hard, because you have to kind of really face directly what you've written and really kind of assess it and give it your full attention and kind of really pass what is there on the page and what you can say about it. And that can be, I guess, kind of difficult when you've spent so long working on something. And I was kind of pleasantly surprised by how well things kind of came together with that part of the process. Yeah. I'm realizing as I'm talking about this that I should probably give you some context about what this novel is and what it's about. So The Go-Between Girl is a historical fiction novel I've been working on since July of 2024, and it is based on a kind of alternate history, which is where you take an event and kind of change what happens. And it's an alternate history of the Roe versus Wade decision, told through the eyes of Harriet Phillips, who is a college graduate. She's just graduated from a history degree and she doesn't really have any job prospects, and she kind of stumbles into working for an underground abortion clinic just before the year that the Supreme Court hears Roe versus Wade. And it's kind of about how her life is shaped around this decision and the ripples it has for her across a long period of time. So yeah, that is kind of essentially the novel that I'm sending out and querying and hoping that someone likes it enough to read more of it, or even just come back and say something personalized about it, because getting the rejections have stopped. Like the first one hurt, but they've stopped hurting, but you kind of just want someone to engage with it more than just saying no. I think that is my kind of overall feeling right now about that particular aspect of the process. So what else am I working on writing wise? I am writing the first draft of my third novel, currently going under the title High Quality Man. And what can I say about this? It has a very unlikable protagonist. It was a lot of fun to write early on, and I kept expecting to get to a point with it and run out of things to have happen. And that hasn't happened yet, but I still have the sense that I'm kind of treading water and, crossing all my fingers and toes and hoping that I'm not going to run out of things to have happen before it becomes a novel-length project. I know right now that I'm underwriting it and not, that I could add more stuff into it, and probably will in future drafts, because I tend to underwrite things, and kind of just get the bare bones on paper and kind of leave out some of the gristle that you kind of need in a novel. But yeah, so essentially, because I'm trying to loading because I'm trying to keep it going, it's still very much a discovery process. And I think for The Go-Between Girl, I didn't outline until I was like 6 chapters away from the end and very close to finishing the novel, like under 10,000 words left kind of thing. And I think I did that as a way of convincing myself that it was doable and it was finishable, and this kind of big task could be done. So yeah, the last time I talked about High Quality Man, I think I was at 22,000 words, and as of today I'm at 30. which is quite good for me in a month, and the month is not quite over yet, so I'm hoping that I can scrape that up to 9,000 words for the month and kind of deliver on that. I guess we'll wait and see. I make shorts that are kind of like accountability to hold myself accountable for how much I've written. So that's kind of a series on my channel. How much did I write last month? Just as a short form content. And hot tip, if you're looking for accountability and you don't have a friend or someone to kind of beat down your door and say, right, posting online how many words you've written that month or that week or whatever, has been quite transformative for me in terms of, like, I don't have the excuse of doing 2,000 or 3,000, or sometimes early in the Go Between Girl draft, I would write like 1,700 words in a month, and I think my goal then was more just to sit down and get words on a page rather than to hit a word count. And I think as I built that writing muscle, I've become more consistent with that. So that is my writing update. On to whatever else I plan to talk about. Okay, the other thing I wanted to cover in this video was reading. In February, I have read 12 books. Now, there is a caveat to this. That is that some of these were audiobooks, so I think audiobooks count as reading, but that is, debated. And then some of them were audiobooks I listened to go to sleep to. So how much I really absorbed of them is kind of questionable, but I really like a good, classic children's novel, Winnie the Pooh, The Wind in the Willows, Anne of Green Gables, to listen to as a bedtime wind down. It's just, I find it so soothing. It's like being read a story by your parents as a kid. I just find that so warm and comforting, and it just helps me turn my brain off. So some of the 12 books is that. And the book I did want to talk about that I read, which is kind of the book of a huge TikTok book, is Alchemized by Selena Liu. Celine, I don't know how to say her name. Anyway, I went into this book not really knowing much about the original fan fiction. I'd never read it. So for the first maybe 10 to 15%, I was kind of so on board with the ooey gooey fanfiction-y vibes of the story, and then it got to this place and I was kind of oh, this is The Handmaid's Tale. I don't know that The Handmaid's Tale goes too well with my ooey gooey fanfiction kind of wanting self. I don't know that these two things mesh together that well. And then they pulled out some absolute clanker lines in this book about sexual assault, and I was just kind of are we for real? How did this get past an editorial team? How can you say these things? I didn't like the romanticization of it. It felt wrong to me. And yeah, so that has been my most kind of divisive read of the month. And then my other books Can I remember any of them? Probably not. So yeah, this has been my February update video. I plan to make this a regular series and do like another one of these last week of March. And yeah, so stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for more writing vlogs coming soon. Thank you for being here. Leave me a comment, let me know how your February went. Let me know how it went with writing, reading, all the things. I'd love to know. So yeah, okay, bye.